So I was going to ask you, did you come from a family of swimmers because of how just innately good at it you seem to be? And then I read an interview with your parents, and they called themselves, quote, leisure swimmers.
Yeah, that they have a pool in their backyard and they practice floating in the summer and snacking, pizza rolls, chips and dip, taquitos. Uh, Sometimes we even had dinner in the pool. But yeah, my dad tries to entice me to come back because in high school I hated getting in the pool. I'd swim for like 2 hours and 2.5 hours in the morning. Then I'd go coach for another 3 hours. Sometimes getting in the pool there to like help with the 5-year-olds. And then I'd go swim practice another 2.5 hours at night. So I was like pulled out. And they're like, why do you never get in the pool with us? I'm like, well, I'm in the pool 8 hours a day during the week. And I don't want to be in the pool. And uh, and so he's like, hey, you can come back and like we'll flow, we'll eat some chips and dip, or we'll get a smoothie or something. And we don't do laps here. It's not what this pool's for. So yeah, they're swimmers, but not competitively.
So when you started swimming at age 7, how did you get into it?
So I always loved the water. When I was 5, we were living in Guam for a summer, couple months or so, and my parents like to go scuba diving, and so they kind of brought me with them and took me snorkeling, and so that was a kind of fun activity. And like, look, little fish, or remember we're diving or not, we're snorkeling in Gab Gab was the name of the place that we like to go, and I would just kind of run around and I'd hang out and eat hot dogs and stuff because that's what you took to some of the fish was the hot dogs. They loved that. So I always kind of loved that. And then when we moved back to the States, we moved back to Alabama, and my mom's like, he loves to swim. She saw an article of the swim team, the Madison Dolphins were one, like they were on a hot streak. I don't know if it's been broken to this day. I don't know. But she's like, let's try him out for that. So all I knew how to do was like kind of putter around underwater. I love doing it. So she had me try out, and they took me on the developmental team. And then by the end of that summer, I was scoring points for the team, and I've been swimming ever since.
So the majority of athletes that I talk to are not what organized sport would consider early specialization. They start at 12, they start at 16. You started rather early.
Yeah.
How did that shape you as a swimmer going forward?
My parents always told me when I was going through and like learning how to do like breaststroke and butterfly and backstroke and actual freestyle, because I just kind of putter around underwater. And it's funny because now underwater is my least favorite place to be in a race. There's no air down there. It's hard to breathe. And I enjoy breathing pretty regularly. So those two don't really mix. But when I was younger, that's where I loved to swim. But they would always tell me when I was growing up and learning the different stuff that to focus on the technique now and the speed will come. And they, like at least 5 times on the way to practice or anytime we were talking about it would always come up. And I got tired of hearing it. The thing was that they were right. And I was like, seeing people that kind of skipped that technique portion, just kind of went for speed, and they get to college and have terrible technique and have to go back and fix all of that. But I did kind of like ascend to the top of my age group pretty quickly. And I was always kind of pretty competitive. I wasn't really ever winning a whole bunch of stuff, but I was always like right there. So I was always enticed to keep going. It was just kind of an easy thing. All my friends were there. So it's kind of like there was no like question at the end of a season if I was going to go into the next one. It was just like, oh yeah, we got the next season. And then eventually you get old enough where you can kind of start thinking about, do I want to do this in college? Like I could do this there. And when I was 7, I had a dream of going to the Olympics, and I had no idea like what that entailed. Met a couple Olympians. I guess I was unimpressed when I met some of them, my mom said, because I was like, that's going to be me one day. She told me that story pretty recently. So I don't remember being like that, but yeah, so it was always just kind of a path for me, and it kind of just fit naturally for how I want to do things. But I was always pretty good at it, and I like doing things that I'm good at. So it's kind of made sense.
Well, you worked your way up to the number 1 swimming prospect in the entire state of Alabama. At what point did Louisville get in contact with you?
So they were not actually really on my radar going into the whole recruiting process. When I was getting recruited, the coaches couldn't reach out to you via phone call until July 1st going into your senior year. And that's all changed now. Now they can call you like your junior year and stuff, which is odd. Anyways, I'd had a couple emails with them and a couple of emails with some other schools. When I get a call from my man Arthur, and we talked for like an hour and a half or so. He's like, all right, let's talk next week. And I was like, okay, because they can only call you once a week. And next week comes and he calls, and the next week they had one of the other coaches call so I could get to know not just the head coach, but some of the rest of the staff. And they got me up on a visit, and they were my first visit, so I didn't really know what I was looking for. The next week I took the ACT. The next week I went to Virginia Tech, and then I went to NC State my last weekend. And going into it, I was probably a little bit more biased towards NC State. And then I came home on a Sunday. I drove back up to Louisville on Wednesday, and I was like, I think that's where I want to go. As soon as I got to campus, I was like, this is it. This feels like home. And then committed on that unofficial trip on Wednesday. That was it.
What kind of resources were there in place? I mean, you had a litany of Division I offers, so it was all, I mean, you were going Division I regardless, but how did what Louisville was going to give you differ from the others?
I just kind of felt like I fit in a little bit better in Louisville than I did in the other schools. And people talk about like you get this gut feeling and like you just know like where it is. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, look, that's a pretty big decision. It's the next 4+ years of your life. It's where you're going to get a degree, and like you're going to be off by yourself for the first time. That's a big decision to like just kind of like gut feeling it. And that's why I wanted to go back up that Wednesday. I was like, because I got that gut feeling right there. I thought that I had it at home after the trip, and I was like, just needed to be sure. And we were in the parking lot behind the pool, and it's not anything like super pretty or like, wow, razzling dazzling. Like the parking lot behind the pool, and like there's train tracks, and then it goes over and you can see the rest of campus and our bell tower and our student activity center. But I was like, just like right there, I'm like, this is home. And there was like no change in my mind after that. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I mean, we have all kinds of stuff available to us for success, pretty much to the point where if you're not successful and you didn't reach out, then like that's on you, because we have nutritionists, sports psychs, 5 coaches, all with like different fields and stuff that they kind of like work in and like really synergize well. An athlete, eating place, tutors, professors that'll work with you. So it's hard to not be successful here.
And what kind of resources while you were doing your undergrad did you utilize?
Yeah, so we had nutritionists would come in every Wednesday and talk with us, as well as the sports psych. I think that's not her technical title. I always forget what it is. But she'd come and talk to the team. I always thought like that was really helpful, just especially one of the basic things that we did, which I always thought carried a lot of weight, was after a meet, whether it was good, bad, win, lose, draw, didn't really matter. If we smoked them or we got smoked, was, what was something you did good? What was something that you did that needs fixing, and how are you going to fix it? And like, write like 3 bullet points for each. And it's like super simple, but like there's a lot of emotion tied up with the competition. So like when you do that a couple of days later, it's like it takes the emotion out of it. And it's like, okay, like these are the things I need to fix to get better, and this is how I'll do it. It's like, okay, well, this is what I need to do, but I'm not willing to do that. So plan B is like, so it's like takes the emotion out of it, which I thought was really good, being an athlete, to have an unbiased opinion of what you need to do to get better. The other thing I was not really wanting to do when I left high school was get a tutor. I was like, I'm smart. Like I don't need a tutor. I got to college late. I was at Junior Worlds. So the first week I was like, I didn't even know what a class section was or how to tell which section you were. Turns out it's just the next dash after the course number. I didn't know how to read that. No one taught me that. So it was like one of the first things I'm like, I need a tutor. A lot of people had tutors, so it was like kind of normal. It was very normal to get one, but I was like, I didn't want to get one. I just kind of had that like misconception of like a tutor that means like you're dumb or you're not smart enough to handle it. So I use those a lot. And then as I got older and the classes got harder, it's kind of like there aren't as many tutors for those classes. That's when you start leaning on the friends that you've made in the classes, because by this point it's junior, senior year. So you've been in the class with them for 3-ish years now, if not 4. So it's like, okay, if we can't get together and do a homework together, then what have we been doing the last 4 years? So yeah, that's kind of how I started and wrapped up academically with that. But I reach out to a couple of my professors whenever I miss a class and be like, there was one class I was missing. I was like, hey, like I'm going to this nationals. It was over the summer. It's a 500 level class. I'm like, I may or may not be coming home on this date, depending on how I swim. I might go represent Team USA in Japan. He's like, huh? So I explained it to him, like, this could kind of be a pretty big deal. He's like, I might miss your final. He's like, you go, don't worry about it. Email me when you get back, whenever you're ready to take it, and we'll set something up. And he's like, the only thing that I ask is that you email me and let me know how you did. And I was like, that seems pretty fair. So he's been following me ever since. And it's like that kind of attitude towards supporting the student athletes when we're going out and traveling and competing is kind of embodies my experience with U of L professors. So I thought that was really cool.
I love that. Let's take a step back though. I found out that you started out as a freshman in high school as a diver.
Yeah, that was kind of for fun. I got a lot of crap from my teammates for that. I went on a church trip to this water park, and we were doing a flip contest, and of course somehow we ended up at the 7 meter, and I did a backflip with a twist. I landed it. It was awesome. Mom found out about it, was not happy. She said, if you're going to do stuff like that, you should get the proper training to do that. And I was like, all right, fine. So joined the dive team first semester. Was not very good. So it was fun though. But then we went back to swimming.
And then we're going to flash forward back to that freshman year at U of L, a silver in the ACC championship. What a way to start your career.
Yeah, that kind of went off. That was a lot of fun. That was a big learning environment too, because dual meets, so you have like the men and the women, and it's kind of like not a whole bunch of pressure. This is like all men's. This is like all testosterone everywhere. Everyone's like trying to like be the most macho that they can be. And then there's like, I was never very big. So I was like, I think I came into college like $145. So not very big. And then I got second. The guy that won was a senior. He's like, hey man, it's all you from here on out. And then it was not, because I had a couple whippersnappers behind me that threw down pretty well. But it's like fun racing at that level, because it's like it's what that makes for the best memories. So that was a good way to start freshman year.
What was your first experience with the 200 butterfly? Because that's what eventually took you to the Olympics.
In college or just like in general?
In general.
Ooh, okay. I think I was 14. This was probably one of the times I started having a breakout season, and I won the LSC championship. This is in club, yeah. I think I dropped like 5 or 10 seconds. It was a big drop, and it was like I won, so it was a pretty big deal to win that meet. And I was like, okay, like I always knew I was good at butterfly, and then I was like, okay, like now like you won, so like you're pretty good. I think I went on to win the 4 IM later, but that's we're glad that we dropped that event. That event's a little bit more grueling than the 2 fly. But yeah, ever since then, it's just kind of always been my go-to stroke. And the 100 was a little bit too sprinty for me, so we went to the 200. Not a whole bunch of people want to swim the 200. All the sprinters and the 100 freestylers can swim a 100 fly, but not everybody can swim a 200 fly. Hey, no, sorry.
And then how did that relationship continue as you started to swim that against college athletes?
One of the biggest things that they teach us in college is like, if we're in practice, and just keep numbers simple, if we go a minute in 100 or something, they don't care so much about the time that we're going to practice as much as how we go that. So like, for example, if we take like 3 kicks and then take like 20 strokes, which we would never take in a short course, but just for numbers, take 3 kicks underwater and then 20 strokes and then go a minute. That's not as good as if you took like 8 kicks and took like 8 strokes. Like there's much more efficiency there. And that's kind of, they're teaching like swim smart and like, instead of just work hard. So in club in high school, you're supposed to learn how to work smart. And then you come to college and they teach you how to work smart, put some power behind it, and kind of really nail that race strategy and kind of rehearse what you want to do in the race at practice, which is not normally always the funnest things to be doing, but it pays off. So
how did your strategy change once you got not only to U of L, but started winning there?
So I was always a back half swimmer, which means like the first 100 of the race, I would kind of like just kind of chill. And then the back 100, I basically sprint and pass everybody who was already ahead of me, which is a great way to do it because it's just like a lot of fun to run people down. It's kind of like the old guys in the 5Ks, like everyone starts off strong, and then like you'll get to like mile 2 and everyone will just like, the old guys that have trained and are ready to run that will just start flying by you. And you're like, how are you doing this? It's like, that's what it feels like. But like being the old guy in that example. But we've been recently trying to work to push the front. At trials, I was focused on the middle 100 and trusting the training that I've been doing for that last 50. Because there's a cliff in the 200. It's kind of how I like to describe it, is you can go out so fast, and if you near this cliff, and as soon as you jump off the cliff, then you kind of die. That's kind of how swimmers describe it. That's when the last 50 can be very painful if you don't do it right. So if you take it out too fast, then you have to pay for it later. So that's why I always like to save up for that last 100, because then that 50 is just, I'm flying by everybody who's hurting and fading away. So that's where I make up that ground. But there's numbers game, so you can only come back so fast. So now we're trying to push the front and also kind of maintain that back end speed. So we're just trying to go faster in general, I guess.
And then you reprised the silver in your sophomore year, and you got a silver with a record-breaking 800 free relay.
Yeah, that was fun. That was the relays, I think, are the best. I remember the first time that we had a relay like that was really good. It's like my captain was like, "Hey man, you just qualified friend C's," and it was like in the middle. There's like a dual meet. There's a basically glorified dual meet. And so we're like, it's like, whoa, like that's a pretty big deal. That like I'm already going, spots secured, and I don't know. That's like, it's just more fun to have the guys with you, and like being one of the 4 guys on the entire team that like are being trusted with that position to get that job done. And then we swim on the first night at ACCs or NCAAs, and so like there'd only be 4 guys swimming, and so all 4 of us would be warming down together. So it's like a little squad within the championship team. So that was always special to me.
And then you set a school record at that meet. How did you know at the time that was a record that you guys were trying to beat, or did that just happen afterward?
There are people on the team that know the relay records and stuff. I never had any idea. I was just always trying to like throw down the fastest split that I could. And then even at one point in time, I was going for the fastest split in program history. But it's not common for records to get broken in any given year. If they don't get broken at ACCs, those are normally in February. There's a good shot that it could get broken in March at NCAAs. So it's very common to break those. I don't know how like it gets broken every single year, but somehow they do. So I did not know it at the time until someone's like, "Hey, that's a school record." I'm like, "Oh, nice. We're on the record board again."
And then flash forward to senior year, All-American honors, 6th at the NCAA free. How did that kind of wrap up your college experience?
Yeah, so I'd been an academic All-American before, but not individually. And being a 2 flyer, I never finaled even senior year in the A final in the 200 fly. So it's, statistically speaking, I'm better at short course at the 200 free than the 200 fly, which is kind of funny to say. But like being able to do that individually, like for the last time, was like put a nice little bow on it, because I didn't swim that event freshman or sophomore year, and we tried junior year, and it was kind of a mess because I didn't have the time to go. So I was in the grocery store. I got a call. It's like, "Hey, we need to hop on a plane in like 2 hours and come to this meet to get the minimum qualifying time to come swim this event." and then CAs. And I was like, okay, well, I'm at the grocery store. So, so I hung up and was like, hey, we got to wrap this up because I got a flight to catch. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to this meet I didn't have to go super fast. I just had to get like the minimum time standard to go. Hey, yeah. So like being able to complete that story from junior year, just put a nice little bow on it. And it's like, this is how I'm going to go out. I think I was going all my time senior year were on every relay and every individual event were awesome, except for the 200 flies. So I was like, if you got to miss one, then like I can be okay with like one event. Like all of these other ones were just freaking fantastic splits. So I was proud of that.
And when did you get on USA Swimming's radar?
So I'd been on a couple of junior national team trips before, and I've been on the junior national team. I've been on the national team in 2017. That was a big summer. I was working in a co-op, and it was a 9-to-5 job. And I was standing on my legs all day. But I got to go to the World University Games, which I guess is the second biggest games to the Olympics, because they have all this different sports there, like track and field and like judo and tennis and all those other sports that make it a game sort of vibe. And there's an athlete village that we lived in. So that's kind of when I started. But then 2018 was like, I was going into my senior year, and I was like, if I want to go professional and not have to get a desk job after I graduate, then I need to be this good. And I'm like right here right now. So I put all my eggs in one basket, and I was like, okay, we got to make a big jump here, because then I could go one more summer after I graduate. And then after that, like, you got to start putting bread on the table. So, and with the amount that I eat, that's at least 2 or 3 loaves a week. It's not just a little bit of bread. Anyways, in 2018, when I put all my eggs in one basket, it paid off, because that's when I made the first A trip. That was at Pan Pacs, in which I actually won a medal there. So that was a pretty big deal. And then I've been on the A team ever since 18. So it's been fun, because I've gone through, Pan Pacs is one of the smaller meets compared to like a world championships or the Olympics. So I've gotten to kind of go through all of the different meets with USA Swimming. And so I've gotten to experience all kinds of different levels with a lot of the same people, but then also like a lot of new people. And like, they're like, oh, like, how's this trip work? And I'm like, well, we'll go here for a little bit, and then we'll go here, and they'll give us food here, and here, and we'll swim, and then we'll race, and then we'll go home. And like, oh, it's like kind of having like a more relaxed role. Like, I was not like a veteran, like a Caleb Dressler or Ledecky, but like, I knew what was going on. I knew what to expect. I knew how the trip was gonna fold out. So, yeah, it's kind of like I bring a little bit of quirkiness to the team.
And then when you were on the junior national team in 2015, and you went to Singapore, and you got a 5th place finish in the 200, how did that prepare you for what was eventually to come?
Yeah, so I actually was not happy with that swim. I remember that pretty vividly. In my morning session, I almost missed the whole final, which would have really sucked, because I went all the way over there, and the 2 fly was the last day of the meet. So I was watching everyone else swim and compete and do awesome, and like super excited for my turn. And then I almost missed the final and my opportunity to really do that. I squeaked in 8th. Once like the results came back that I was 8th in the morning, like everyone was like, it's like, good, you got another shot, because you almost didn't. But I wanted to do better. My time there, I wasn't super happy with. So I was kind of upset about it for a little bit. And I came up with a technique that I've used since then, which I thought was like pretty big. Anytime like I have a bad swim and I'm really upset about it, is I was with a coach in the warm down pool, and there's a clock, and it's just kind of the pace clock's running around. And I think it was on like the 10-second mark. And I was like, all right, when it gets to the top, I'm going to be as negative as I can until the top. And then after that, I'm like, we are 5th right now in the junior world, so we'll be happy about that. But until the top, I'm going to be as negative as I can, get everything out. And so he's like, all right, lay it on me. And so I just used him, was like, my turn sucked. My breakout was trash. I swallowed water. My time, well, I don't even know what my time was. And it's like everything I hated about the race. And then like once it got to the top, like to this day, like I don't look back and be like, oh yeah, that time kind of sucked. Like my breakout was like, I threw that away and was like, oh, we got fifth there. I'm like, those different experience, like racing those guys. And I still have raced those guys, made friends from that meet that I'm still friends with today that I get to see when I go on these big international trips.
So 1 minute of insane negativity, and then you put it behind you.
Yeah. And it works because like you got to really let it go. You can't just be like, I wish my breakout would have been better. No, you got to freaking let it rip. Like tear into yourself for that. You got to set a finite amount of time. Like you could change it to an hour or whatever, but I just needed 50 seconds to get it off my chest and have somebody there that would like be able to just like be a wall and just like let my negative thoughts just kind of like bounce off of and stuff. And then it was like, once the top hit, I'm like, all right, I'm like, hey, we're fifth in the world. Like, that's pretty freaking good. So yeah, it's like, it works. It's weird, but it works.
It doesn't have to be weird if it works.
That's true.
It works for you.
I'll come up with some oddly I'm not very formal and traditional in some how I do some things, but I don't know if I've ever met somebody else that's done that same thing, but I would recommend that. Next time you have something bad happen, it's really not that bad. You're being a little bit melodramatic. It's like, that's a great time to use that technique.
We're going to talk a little bit more about your quirkiness. In 2016, the U.S. Olympic trials, 7th place finish, you made the final and you dressed up like Batman.
Yeah.
Why?
So kind of talked about it earlier. Ever since I was 7, my dream was to go to the Olympics. I had no idea what that entailed. As I got older, I kind of was able to kind of figure it out, and I had people around me that knew exactly what that was going to mean. But I'm racing. There's 8 guys in the heat. Of the 8, one of them was Michael Phelps. And of the 8, 6 went on to go on to that 2016 Olympics, whether in that event or some other event. So it was just me and one other guy that ended up making the team last year. So we kind of made it together. He didn't make it in the 2.5, but he made it in some other event. But that's a kind of really big, high pressure moment I think I was 18, for an 18-year-old that's kind of been like gearing their entire life and made every big major life decision, where we go to college, and how we do things around this whole goal and dream. And not a whole bunch of people get the opportunity to make their dream a goal. And I feel like they kind of get told as they grow up, they're like, that's not how the world works, or that's too hard. There's no, like, you're not going to get paid if you do that, or whatever people get told. And I was like, I didn't want to ruin or miss that opportunity because not everyone gets that. And so that was really big to me. And so again, a lot of pressure here. Like we're talking about like racing Michael Phelps for a spot on the Olympic team. Like I watched him in 08 and 12 and like idolized him. And like, when you start racing these guys, you can't idolize them anymore because they're your competitors. You can respect and look up to, but you can't like put them on a pedestal of unbeatable anymore, because otherwise you might don't even step up on the blocks. You've already lost. So came out as Batman as like I ran it by the coach first because I didn't want to like represent the university in a bad way. So I got it cleared, and he said, if you're going to wear that, then you have to deliver. You can't wear that and suck. It's like you can't. It's just not. You can't. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to us. And I was like, all right, I'm not planning on sucking here. Like we have a great swim. We could make the Olympic team. So I put on the Batman onesie, and it was a way for me to go around and like circumvent all of the nerves associated with racing for a spot at the Olympics. And so I was just focused on being Batman. And by the time that I took off my onesie and stepped up on the blocks, I didn't have time to think like, oh crap, like I'm racing Phelps for a spot on the Olympic team, and all these other guys that were all established national teamers, and everybody, they all knew each other. And then there's like me in a Batman suit. So being able to go around all those nerves as an 18-year-old who didn't really have the experience to handle that was really big. So, but also I was really big into Batman, still am. The new movie was awesome. But yeah, I always loved Batman and kind of like his ideologies and how he does things. So that's why I chose him. But
and then you followed that up with 2017, a 6th place in the World Championship trials in 100 and 200 meter, and then a spot at like we were saying, the World University Games, and then a gold medal in that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Forget I was on that relay sometimes. Yeah, relays doesn't matter if it's college, club, high school, or Team USA. It's like relays are they're privileges. My club coach, one of my buddies, I guess, and the coach just laid into him. He's like, "This is a privilege. You don't have to be on it. You say that again, I'll never put you on a relay ever again." And I was like, "Oh, you just got like destroyed." So I was like, "All right," and like that, I remember him like saying that as like it's a privilege, it's an honor to like be one of the 4 guys that's on the relay. And so I was like, that's how I've always approached it. Being on a relay is an honor and a privilege, and it's an earned something that you've earned. And so being able to be on those morning relays that went on to win the gold at night was an honor and a privilege and a lot of fun, if I'm being honest.
And then 2018, the Pan Pacific Championship in Tokyo, where you would eventually return to, and a bronze in the 200-meter butterfly and a personal best. I'd call that a success.
Yeah, 100%. That was a big breakout year for me. And so I'd never like made a team and then gone to whatever international meet overseas and swam well at that meet. And so this was the first time. It was very vindicating that like it was the first time I made a team, swam really fast to do that, and then went over there and replicated that performance and swam actually I went faster. So that was even better. It was like a cherry on top. On top of that, they gave me a medal for it. It's like awesome. Because the US is really good at swimming. If for those of you that don't know, this is kind of like a historic thing. And when you make a team, it's kind of like you're probably in pretty good medal contention already. So being able to like bring one home was awesome. And when you stand up on the podium, they played the winner's national anthem, but then second and third place get their flag raised with it. So it's like I got to get the flag raised, and that was a really cool experience. But also that qualified me for the Worlds in 2019. So it's kind of like a snowball effect there.
And then at what point did you start working with DC Trident, and what is that?
Okay. Yeah, there's a whole can of worms there. So yeah, we're gonna go right in. So after I graduated, so DC Trident is was one of the 8, now 10 professional swim teams in the ISL, which stands for the International Swim League. So I couldn't do anything with them in any capacity until I graduated, which was 2019. So after I graduated, I joined them. Graduated in May and started swimming for them in August. Was the time that the first meet was happening, maybe September. But basically, if you kind of think like NFL is like national professional football, it's like the ISL is kind of the same thing, but with swimming and worldwide, not just the US. And so DC Trident is based out of Washington, DC. And it was the first inaugural year for the league. So the league just finished its 3rd season as of now. So, but just because we're based out of DC, we have Ukrainians, we have Russians, we have, they're going to be mad at me that I'm blanking on all of their countries. Hungarians, Britain. So it's a kind of a hodgepodge of all these elite swimmers from different countries and training styles and backgrounds. And they kind of put us on a team and they say, go. And it's awesome because I get to train with people from different countries that do different things. And so that was something I took advantage of this on season 3 was just like, I went to practice, didn't know. I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And I was like asking around, like, what are you doing? No, that doesn't sound fun. 8 300s? Nope, not doing that. It's like, oh, you're doing 50s and 25. Let's go do that. So it's like, I got to learn and try different things out and have fun while I'm doing it, while working on the things that I knew I needed. So yeah, it's a professional league. And for swimming, which kind of is good because there's not a whole bunch of money in swimming. So this is kind of supposed to help open that door and allow people to continue their careers past college and yeah, stuff like that.
So when you started with the ISL and you were just kind of trying everything, had you ever had a period like that before where you were totally free to do whatever event you wanted?
No, it wasn't so much events. The events were like, I didn't swim breaststroke. Nobody wants to see me swim breaststroke. That would be terrible. Nobody would have fun, including me doing that. Um, but like when I went to practice, I could try the different things. So like season 1 was pretty short because they just want to kind of get all the kinks out. They did that before 2020. That was in 2019, with the idea being they were going to start the season 2 right after the Olympics and ride the high of swimming in the Olympics. And then COVID happened. And so they still had season 2, but it's still an Olympic year. So I was still doing my practices from back home. I was just kind of doing them pretty much mostly by myself because I was still getting ready for the Olympic year. So I didn't swim very good in season 2. In season 3, I was like, I didn't swim very great in season 1. I definitely didn't swim good at all in season 2. So I need to do good in season 3 if I want to keep coming back for a season 4, was my thought process. So it was after the Olympics. So I was like, I'm just going to kind of go and swim and have fun. And that's why I went. And there's never a point in time where it's just like you show up to practice and just do what you want. Normally, like the coach is like, you're going to do this, and then this, and then this, and this. And this is how this week is going to play out. And then this week we'll do this. And then we'll start stacking the weeks. And then we'll have this big aerobic base. And then we'll taper you down for this meet. And it's like, this is like you race every week. So you need to be good to go every Thursday, Friday. So it's a very different and freeing experience, but there's also a lot of responsibility with that because you have to make sure that you're ready to go every Thursday and Friday.
So you had, at that point, you had already graduated from U of L and you were working on your master's, or had you graduated from your master's as well at that point?
Season 1, I was still working on my master's. That was an online, is 6 weeks at a time. So it was a lot more manageable than having to actually go to class and sit there and turn in homework in person. So I could just do it online. So I could do it wherever. I think I did do it in Italy at one point in time, but so that's kind of cool. And then by the time season 20, I graduated in 2020 and with my master's. So by the time season 2 started, I was already done.
So why get a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in engineering management?
That's a good question. I'm still trying to answer that myself. If I had to describe it, I was good at math and science in high school. And so I just kind of put them together and got engineering. I was like, all right, well, that makes sense. So that's kind of why I studied mechanical as my undergrad. And I always thought like how moving parts worked together were pretty cool. And then I got an email, the blast email saying engineering management, it's all online, come check us out. And I was like, what is this? So they threw out a bunch of hooks and they got me. And so I was trying to figure out if it was like going to be worth a degree worth my time, like in the future. And from the people that I was talking to, it's like, if you do the master's in mechanical, or even if you had the undergrad, like you can get in on the base floor and like start doing the projects. But like, if you kind of want to move up the ladder a little bit and kind of become more of a manager and kind of like a boss, then like these might be skill sets that you need, engineering management stuff. So it was a little bit easier in terms of like, I wasn't sitting there doing thermodynamics and studying the laws of those, but I was learning like how to manage people and projects. And if you need this to finish by this date, then you have these a billion tasks. Like, what do you need to get started on first if they're all independent of each other and stuff like that? So I thought, based off of my swimming and the way that I've progressed through the team in school, was freshman, sophomore year, I was like learning, and I learned how to follow people. And then by junior, senior year, I was captain. So I was like leading people. And I figured out that if I can see the whole big picture, then I could probably do a pretty good job at leading people and getting things done and seeing the big picture. That's not something I think everyone can do. So I thought that was one of my skill sets. So I could see potentially future down the road is get on the ground floor, see how a project works and see how things move, and then go and start managing it and seeing that big picture and putting it together for somebody.
When you're kind of predisposed to thinking so analytically, if I do this, then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, how does that translate into swimming?
So it's kind of like it's kind of like a dominoes kind of in swimming. Like if you're short on your kickouts, then you're either going to be long. You might be either long, or you might have to take an extra stroke into that next wall. And if you don't end up timing that, then that's another chain reaction of events, because you can lose speed going into that. And then that might make your next kick out even worse, which makes that next wall even worse. So it just kind of like gradually goes down. So that's kind of one way. And then the other way is like, when I'm at practice, I'm like, I got 4 50s to my race. So if I'm doing a set of 4 fast 50s, kind of makes sense for me to do one at the first 50, kind of nice and easy. The second one builds a little bit. Third one's strong. And the last one's fast. Like there's like really super strong, and like just kind of like building it like that. Not that the first one's slow. It's just like the kind of effort level that I'm trying to put in to like mimic the race. And it's like, okay, well, if I want to be able to do these things in the race, then I need to do these things right here, or do these things plus like a plus some. If I want to hold 6 kicks in a race, then maybe I need to hold 7 or 8 at practice, because then what's holding 6 or 4 walls? So that's kind of like how we kind of think through things. That's just kind of always made sense to me. If you have 4 50s and you have a set of 4 fast 50s, well, I was like, it just goes together.
And then skipping forward to last season, gold in the 200-meter butterfly in Omaha, qualifying for the Olympics. And then that wasn't even your best time.
No. Yeah. Yeah, we were kind of upset with the time, but it didn't really matter because we made the Olympics. So I was like, time could have been faster, but it didn't need to be, kind of thing. But I kind of had this dream beforehand, which I kind of think was like a thing from God saying like, you're going to make it, kind of like, trust me sort of thing. And I was like, I normally don't have these stories, but this one I was like pretty sure. He's like, chill, you'll be fine. It's like, you know what we're about to go and try and do, right? This is a really big deal. The next one is like 3 years from now. Normally it's 4. It's like, if you say so, but like, this is a big deal. Let's not mess this up. Like, what do I need to do to get myself ready? Anyways, it's like I kind of like knew this is one of the only times I knew I was going to win in a heat like that before I even dove in. And I was like, there's a lot of good people in that heat. And I'm like, it could take a 154. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I might have to go best time to do this. And I was like, I was told I was going to win. So it doesn't matter what everybody else goes, because I'll be the fastest. So like, it's a very weird situation, very weird mind place for me to be in. But then I dove in and I touched. And if you watch the video, when I touched, it's not a look of surprise like you normally see. It was like I checked to make sure that I won. Just you don't want to celebrate and be like third. Third's the worst place to be at trials, because top 2 go. But yeah, so I was like, I checked and made sure, and then got to celebrate that. But there was no look of surprise because I was already anticipating winning, which was a very weird place to be. Normally it's like let's just go race the guy next to us and try and get the hand on the wall first. But yeah, that was, and then getting in, I got, my parents were like right there, and my girlfriend, so I got to go run over and hug them and share that with them. So that was really exciting. Then I got to go hug my team afterwards. So
when you're in a sport where milliseconds determine whether you're going to the world stage or not, how do you focus those emotions?
This time it was sheer honesty. Everyone would always be like, hey man, like, how you doing? Like, big races today. Be like, yeah, I'm nervous as hell. Like, for lack of, sometimes I'm like shitting bricks. Like, I'm not okay. Like, I'm very much like, my training partner was also in that final heat with me, and we were joking back in the team area beforehand. We're kind of like, we're doing it like this, like, where you out on the scale? Like, this is calm. It's kind of like the Guitar Hero meter. It's like, this is calm, and this is like, I'm freaking out. And like, we were kind of joking with each other about, like, because we were pretty much on the same page most always. I'm like, I'm freaking out right now. It's like, yeah, me too, dude. Me too. But then like coaches be like, you ready? You good? And I'm like, super nervous right now. Like, it's a pretty big deal. Like 20 minutes from now, my life could change. One way or the other. Like, it's pretty wild. And they're like, you're fine. You got this. And so like leaning on teammates and coaches, massage, our director of ops, like anyone who was there and asked me, I was like, oh no, I'm fine. But 5 minutes ago, I was like freaking out. So Yeah, I think honesty there was the easiest thing, because then it's like they didn't know what to say if I didn't tell them that I was nervous as hell. Like, it's a really big pressure moment, and like I had a really good shot of winning and going. Sort of my training partner. So it was like very weird sort of like day. That's actually 2 days. So like it was a long 2 days, and it's like people don't know how to help you or like talk to you if you're like, yeah, I'm fine. And it's like, I'm not fine. So I think honesty was what we used there.
And then what was Tokyo like?
Well, it was weird because you go from Omaha, which was like, I think it was half capacity or something. And then you go to Tokyo, which had 0% capacity, and no fans. But everything there was like Olympic themed in terms of the venue. And like, you're just walking around, like seeing all these different types of athletes. Field hockey. There's one girl I went to school with who's a field hockey goalie for Ireland. So I got to see her over there multiple times. So that was really cool. And then like, just like what people ate at the dining hall, like that's a whole can of worms, because they had healthy food and unhealthy food every day. And they also had good and bad tasting food every day. And some of those did not align like you would want to. But then like, it was also at the same time I've been in other villages before. So like it wasn't anything like super new. Like the World University Games, like I said, had an athlete village. Like that's very similar to the Olympic Village. And then Worlds in 19, normally you just stay at a hotel, but they had an older athlete village from one of the older WUGs. So everybody stayed there. So it's kind of like a mini swimming Olympics almost, is kind of what that meet was like. So like I had been to multiple different villages. Like that part was kind of new to me. I knew what to expect. There's lots of walking. It was hot. Sometimes you have to wait for the bus, which sucked because it was hot. And you're like trying to go swim and make a final or win a medal or whatever you're going over to the pool to do. Maybe it's a Lucid. Yeah, it was awesome. And the friends that I made, my roommate, like I probably never would have been good friends with him. And now it's like I see him at a meet and I'm always joking about him because I'm the kind of guy in the morning that'll kind of be like a vampire and not turn on or not open like the blinds until it's time to leave the house. And the first thing he does in the morning is turn off his alarm and then go open the blinds. So yeah, I'm like, dude, the sun, it's like Tokyo right now. The sun is in the middle of the sky. So he started making fun. The first 2 days, I didn't say anything. And then like the third, fourth day, I was like, okay, hang on. Because he was like right here about to start opening. I'm like, wait, I took the covers, threw them over my head. He starts laughing at me. I think we were in Hawaii at this point in time for the training camp. He opens the blinds. I'm like, and I kind of like slowly started adjusting my eyes. And he's like, he starts making fun of me. I'm like, I can't do what you do, dude. I'm not an animal. So like, we have like those memories. And I think that's definitely, I'm not going to forget that. And his psychoticness is run and open the blinds in the morning.
And then you got second in your heat in Tokyo with a personal best at the Olympics.
Yeah, not everybody does that. That was also exciting. One, because that was the first time we broke 155. Two, because I think I was seated 6 or so. So I'm like, we can make the final here. And we swam good enough. We were like medal contention. So again, that's another like vindication thing of like, I made the meet, went fast to do it, and was able to replicate that and go fast overseas again, which is not as easy as some people make it look. So yeah, that was a big moment there too, because I can say I won the best time at the Olympics.
And then you finished 9th in the semifinals, and you missed the final by 4/100ths of a second.
That much in terms of distance? Maybe what, 3 inches, 3.5? Yeah, that's what the Louisville Cardinals are working on, is getting a swimmer into the final at the Olympics. I think we've had 4 people finish 9th, so it's just right outside. But it's that swim 4/100ths, like I could find that anywhere, and like that would be a really easy swim to beat myself up over. But that swim that I went to get 9th was not a bad swim. It was just not the swim I needed. When I went the best, I wasn't like trying. I was just like, don't mess up. It's like, you don't need a super fast time to make the semi. You should be able to do that pretty easily. Semis, you need to stop playing around and like, go get the job done. But those two swims were a little bit just swapped. So ninth kind of was like a little bit of salty taste, but 4 100s, I'm not going to beat myself up over that.
Paris 2024.
Yeah, that's the plan. We'll keep swimming. We're planning to keep swimming until 24, and then we'll reevaluate. So I don't know. I mean, I might keep swimming after that. I might stop. I don't know. I just figured that would be a good point to be like, all right, what do we want to do? We want to keep swimming? Yeah. All right, cool. And then keep doing that. Or be like, I'm done. And then time to hang up the goggles. Like, I'm done waking up at 5:30 in the morning. And
so you'll be 27 at that point.
Yeah, I'll be just about to turn 28.
What is the lifespan of a professional swimmer? Is that
right
a similar age?
Yeah, right. So it kind of depends on countries and stuff too. 30s is like, 25 is like old. 30 is ancient. 40 is like, what are you doing here? Sort of. It's like, I feel bad because like Derek Torres was an absolute beast and came back at 40 to make the Olympic team a couple Olympics ago. But like, I would assume most people like 40, like, nice. Like, nobody makes it that long. So it's like, that's why what Phelps was doing and what Ryan Lochte, like, still swimming is like, that's why it's so impressive, because they're still able to compete at that level after being around for that long. Not only like mentally being able to like go through the training all the time, but also like be able to beat everybody at that age because as your body starts getting older, you don't recover the same way. I always joke around, like, I don't bounce back like I used to. I don't bounce back from a hard practice like a rubber ball. It's like, now it's kind of like not quite cement, but like, there's definitely a little bit less elasticity there. But yeah, 25, I feel like for Olympic athlete, for you in the US, probably about 25 people would be like, okay, I'm good. So yeah, you make it to upper 20s, 30s, like, ancient.
And then let's revisit your mental toughness conversation from before we started this interview. When did you realize that you had a problem? How severe was this kind of mental health scenario? And how did you redefine mental toughness coming out of it?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell the whole story, I guess, because that will kind of put everything in perspective. So since June of 2020 until the end of 2020, December 31st, I think I was home a total of, I'd count it up. I think it was 8 weeks total. It's not very much. So of the 6 months, I was basically here for 2. And they were kind of spread out. And I always loved to travel and go different places, but living out of a suitcase and coming home for like 2 weeks just to have to pack those same 2 suitcases and go again for another 4 or 5 at a time for the ISL was kind of took its toll. And so towards the end of December, and I was just done with trips, and I still had like 3 left. And I was like, I don't want to go. Like, I just want to like put the suitcases away and be done and never look at a suitcase again. And so like, that's kind of when I started noticing like fatigue, I guess would be what it was. And then I didn't want to train going into, I'll go back. All right. So I get through all my trips, get through Christmas. Even I viewed Christmas down with my parents as kind of like a trip. It's like, I wouldn't be at home on my couch, sleeping in my bed, doing like things I would do at my house, like just play guitar or watch TV or whatever. I'm still doing those things. And I loved hanging out with my parents, and I loved traveling and doing the ISL stuff and traveling, going to those different places. Had a lot of good times doing it. So I was enjoying where I was at, and also missing home at the same time. And so that was tough. So then come back to Louisville a couple of days after Christmas, and I was like starting to get back in the water because I just had a big championship meet at Short Course Worlds, which was in Abu Dhabi, which was absolutely beautiful. Anyway, yeah. So I was like, okay, so now I like have to actually start training again. I can't just show up to practice and kind of like pick and because I had to get ready for Worlds is coming up actually it's like 3 weeks from yesterday is when I race for a spot there. So it's like, we got to put in some work for 4 months. And so I told my coach, I'm like, I do not want to train. I like mentally, like, don't want any part of it. I'm like, I would like to go to the meet and have the success of the training, but I don't want to put in the work to get there. Like, not at all. He's like, all right, well, we're gonna have to figure that out because you got 4 months. So you come up with something that you can cling to when the sets suck to get you through 4 months. And I was like, I can do 4 months. So I'm like, okay. So then like 2 weeks go by, and then FINA, which is the international thing for swimming, they host all the Worlds and they're in charge of the Olympics and stuff. They're like the swimming part of the IOC. And they're like, yeah, unofficially, your meet's canceled. And I'm like, So I think that happened on Friday. And then Saturday comes around, and the set that was written was just, it was hard. It was a little bit ridiculously hard. And I wanted no part of it if Worlds was going to cancel. I'm like, I'm not going to do this again, especially after what happened in 2020, having the Olympics get postponed and moved. It's like you put in a bunch of work, hard work that you knew was going to pay off, for now, like all that's kind of gone, and it's just like not worth anything. I'm like, I can't have that happen to me again. It's like, I'm not ready for that. I already didn't want to do this, and now like you taking my meat away, like that was the one reason that I was doing this. It's like, I don't have a reason to do this anymore. And then so there's another 2 weeks of basically purgatory there where they hadn't officially canceled it or come up with anything. And so they're like, okay, it's officially canceled, and not canceled, postponed. They moved everything back a year. And then what they ended up doing was just adding a whole new meet into this spot, and in a different country, just to still have one, because the contracts for the original Worlds was written pre-COVID. So there's a whole bunch of things and clauses that they couldn't do because there's a whole political mess, basically. Anyways, they moved the original one and added a new one. So like, all right, never mind, you're back on. It's a month later than it used to be, but trials is still going to be in the original spot. So they're like, we'll see you there. And I was like, So that was like a lot. And while in that like 2 week purgatory of it unofficially being postponed from all the people that were working there to the official statement, like nobody missed a beat at practice. It's like, business is normal. Here's the set. Like, it's super hard. We're training for this meet. And I'm like, we don't have a meet. So that was a big thing. And then on top of that, we're moving to a better house, which we're in now. Very much dog walking friendly. There's a park a block away. If you've heard the dog barking and being excited in the background, she's 5 months old, like last weekend. So the area that we were in beforehand was not dog walk friendly, and there was not parks readily nearby. We were moving on top of that. And then there's like, it felt like every big major part of my life had some sort of fire going on in it. And so normally when that happens and where I get stressed out, like normally my place I go is to practice, and I'll practice, and that's my safe space, and I can just focus on being at practice. But then with the whole Worlds thing getting postponed and canceled, that was no longer a place I could go to, because now like I hated going to it. And so I got constantly bumped heads with my coach. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. There's one time I didn't say anything during practice, because the saying is, if you don't have anything nice, don't say it. But then we finished the set, and I was like, you happy now? Pretty sure, yeah. I was like, you happy now? Like, that's what we did? Like, you happy? I was like, that was stupid. Like, that did not work on what we need to work on. And I think that's pretty much verbatim what I said. And we both agreed that I should take that afternoon off. One, for me to cool off, and two, because I was kind of toxic to be around for the other swimmers. I feel bad for them too. Like, I knew I was kind of being a poo-poo butthole about everything, and there was not much I could really do about it. But I noticed it was really bad when I come home from practice and I'd be like about to make breakfast, and it's just kind of like everything just kind of seemed gray. Like the way like I viewed everything was gray. Everything was basically, it was like falling into a pit of despair. It's kind of what it felt like, even though it's very like, seems dramatic, but that's kind of what it was like. and like, don't care. Like everything's going to go wrong. It's like, if you have the devil and the angel on your shoulder that were talking, it's like, angel wasn't even there. It's just like, this guy's talking and everything he was saying is right. It's kind of bad way to describe it, but basically every negative thought that goes into your head was just like worse. And normally, like, this is what I was thinking, like, came to the realization that like, there's a difference between mental toughness and mental health. Like, mental toughness is your ability to bounce back when you're in a difficult situation. And mental health is like, if you have like bad mental health is not being able to give a damn when you need to. And like, you know that you should. It's like, I just don't care about practice. Like there was a couple of times like wasn't taking care. I had no desire to take care of myself really. It's like if I had an extra drink or two before at night and I knew I had morning practice, like, those two don't mix. That's not how you want to go train for an elite championship level world-class event to go do that. And it's like, I didn't care. It's like there's not a meet. It's like if I stayed up late, if I stayed up to midnight, 1 o'clock and had to get up at 5 or 6, like those two don't pair well for great training. It's like, I didn't care. And so like, I started putting all those things together and I was like, this freaking sucks. And there's no part of it that was fun. And again, kind of going back to like how I took trials, was like, people were like, how you doing? I'm like, this freaking sucks. Like, I'm not okay. I'm like, I hate this, and this for these reasons. And this is why it sucks. And I can't deal with them because I'm in purgatory right now. So I'm waiting for things. And even like once they came out with adding the new worlds, is like, still took a little bit. And like, even now it's like, so like worried, like it comes and goes with different days. It's like, so now it's like every day I'm at least like more cognizant and like aware of my mental health and like how I'm doing, and like a little bit, not fearful, but worried, I guess, that tomorrow, like today might be okay, but like tomorrow might not be. But yeah, the funniest story that I have so far, like, because sometimes the littlest things will just like set me off and I'll just be like, the world's ending, like, woe is me, super melodramatic, like talking about it, but like in the spur of the moment, it's just like terrible. But anyways, told my girlfriend, not fiance, this a little while ago, because I was like, if I'm going to struggle with this, then you should probably be aware if you're going to be around me, because it's not your fault like that I get set off. So I don't want you to like feel like it's your fault. But we made a big ham, like the honey baked ham sort of thing. We made that one night, and she was cutting it off the bone so we could put it in a Tupperware so that we could put it away for the night and have it later. When she was cutting it, there was all the juices in the pan from it, and part of it fell down into the juices and just splashed everywhere. Instantly set off. I'm like, realistically, not that big of a deal. I even knew it. Like, I thought to myself while this was happening, like, this is really not a big deal. And I was just like, it's like, I'll clean it. I got it. And she's like, no, I did it. Like, I'll clean it. And like, I didn't take it out on her or anything, or like go off or anything. But I was like, in my head, I was like, internal turmoil, like tornadoes going off. This is complete thunderdome. And I'm like, also thinking, this is not that big of a deal. It's just some splashed juices. It'll be okay. This will be cleaned up within 15 minutes. But so I was actively aware of that, but also like totally distressed. So some of the things I've been like trying to do is like journal, kind of like Dumbledore, I think in the 5th or 6th movie or book, he takes the wand and like kind of pulls the memory out and puts it in the little pot. And like, when it's on paper like that, it kind of like gets it out of your head. And it's like, that thought doesn't just rattle around. Because normally I've noticed when you get like that, normally it's only 1, 2, maybe 3 thoughts just running around your head, but it's the same 3 thoughts, just like slightly different word twists. So if you like write it down and get it out, then it's like you don't have that much, it's not in your head anymore because it's on the paper. So then you can let new thoughts come. So that's how I've kind of approached it. And beforehand, I was like, mental health, like, it's the decision, like, stop being sad. It's like, he's fine. It's not that big of a deal. And like, now I'm like, there's a difference between the two.
How have you sought out assistance when you were going through that phase, or did you?
Yeah. So there was one morning. I took my stuff to practice and I want to talk to Arthur because we had been butting heads for a little bit now, and I think it was a Thursday. And so we butted heads pretty good on Tuesday. And I went in and practice at a different time so that we didn't overlap on Wednesday. That's our recovery day. And so Thursday morning I went in, I think it was Thursday. And I was like, I might just go home. Just like, because it would get to the point, basically is how the week would start. I'd be like, Sunday would come. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to every practice this week. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Then Monday comes, and I'd hate, if I hated Monday's set, I'd skip Monday afternoon. I'd just be like, I'm not coming. Screw that. Don't want any part of it. And so like very quickly added up to me just kind of coming whenever I wanted, like try in the morning. And then if it was good, I'd come at night sort of thing. So I go in and I find him Thursday before I swam, and I was like, basically told him like, look, like, I don't want to take care of myself. Like if I stay up or have an extra drink or two that I know like it's not going to help me, then like, I don't care. Like when I go home and I'm about to make my breakfast, I just kind of stare off into an abyss and think like all these negative thoughts. And like, it's just like the whole world's ending. And normally this is a safe space for me, but frankly, I don't like the sets and it's not a safe space. And I was honestly like, same thing I was telling you. It's like, I got a bunch of these things going on in every aspect of my life. Like this is hard and this is tough for me. I'm moving. It's like, that's stressful in and of itself. Me and my girlfriend were trying to move. So like, it didn't feel like we were dating. We were just kind of like operating together, which was a little bit different. So that was a little bit stressful there. But we were both aware of that. So we were able to work through that. But there's like every normal major aspect, there's something wrong. And I was like, this is not like, I'm drowning here. I'm like, I hate this. Like, it sucks for me. I don't care if I would drink at, 11 o'clock. And it's like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't care. I don't care if I stay up to midnight and then have to wake up if my practice is crap. Like, I don't care. And so he referred me to our sports psychiatrist, which I was able to talk to maybe that next day. And so went and talked to her, and she's the one that recommended the journaling thing and meditation to kind of like help reset my brain. But yeah, I was open. I was like, this all freaking sucks. I don't want to deal with this. This is where I'm at. I feel like once you get to like the point where it's like, you don't want to take care of yourself, like that's kind of like oh yeah, like, but again, going all the way back, it's like people don't know how to help or don't know that you need help if you don't tell them that. So that's kind of one of the things I learned freshman year getting a tutor is like, if you need help, go get it. It's not bad to go get help. But Michael Phelps is really famous for a lot of reasons, but one of the quotes that he's got on mental health is, it's okay to not be okay. And one of the things when I first heard that years ago, before I had any problems with this, I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I was like, it is not okay to not be okay. Like, we should want to be okay. Like, if you're not okay, you should just try and be okay. Like, this is kind of what I'm thinking at like 18, 20 years old. And I've gone through this in the past couple of months, actually, while I was talking to our sports psych, and I was like, that's not what he meant. He meant it's okay for people to not be okay. But I added on. I was like, while I was figuring this out, having my epiphany, I'm like, it's okay for people to not be okay. That should be like normalized. But I think, and this is me adding on, is it's not okay for somebody to be okay with themselves not being okay. So if you followed all of those okays, then like, if you know that you're not okay, then you should try and go fix it so that you become okay. So yeah, that's kind of, I've reached out, and now I'm a lot more aware and trying to not, I don't know if it's called relapse, but like, for lack of a better term, relapse into it. But yeah.
Wow. What is next for you?
So I raced a 200 fly in Greensboro 3 weeks from yesterday. Top two at that meet goes to Worlds in June. So that's a pretty big deal. Because Worlds is the second biggest meet to the Olympics.
So you said that was in June. Let's see when your podcast is coming out.
Oh,
So your episode will come out January, February, March, April, May 25th. So between now and then, if you can update me with your scores so I can put them in the eventual episode, that would be awesome.
Either one of two things will happen.
Okay.
Make the team, and then I go to Worlds, or I miss the team and take like 3 months off.
Sounds good.
So either way is kind of a win-win for me. Though we're gonna go try and fight some young whippersnappers for that spot.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? I've concluded all of my questions.
No, you had good questions. Not everybody does. No, I think that's pretty much most of my spiels.
Cool. Is there anything that you had a question about on my end?
Yeah. So would you be able to, because I will forget, I'm really good at that. Almost probably instantly. Can you message me sometime in May before the episode comes out, and I can let you know how that went? Because I'd say there's like a 15% chance I remember to let you know. I'll be like, oh, I should do that, and then I'll just say I'll do it like tomorrow, and then I'll never do it. So I don't want to not update you. I'd feel bad.
Sent message Zach in May about results. Awesome.
But it's nothing personal, because sometimes we'll buy like French toast sticks, and then I'll forget that we have French toast sticks. So I'll be like, what's in the freezer? And I see them, I'm like, oh, it's Christmas. Nice. So I'm very forgetful. So I just want
to. No, you're good. That's the end of the questions I have for you. Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
I'm excited to put your story together.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.